Hi everyone, this video is going to be about drug use for spiritual growth, such as psychoactive and psychedelic drugs. I'm sure many of us have heard of the effects of certain drugs or have even tried them, but we often do so for the complete opposite reason we will be discussing in this video. Certain naturally growing plants have a chemical makeup that, when absorbed into the body, commonly through ingesting, smoking, vaping, and other means, produce certain effects on the mind and body, such as letting go of resistance, promoting relaxation, and even allowing one to connect more to their spiritual self and have spiritual experiences. There are many plants that can bring about this effect and are psychoactive and used for spiritual practices. One of the most common ones many have heard about is marijuana from the cannabis plant. Other substances contain psychedelic compounds too, such as various psilocybin mushrooms, peyote, and salvia divinorum. Another is ayahuasca, which can contain a variety of leaves from plants that contain DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, as well as MAOI, or monoamine oxidase inhibitor, to make the DMT active when ingested in this fashion, as it normally is inactive when consumed orally. DMT specifically is often a result of deep meditation and relaxation, including sleep, lucid dreaming, out of body, and other spiritual experiences. In other words, we can bring about these effects on our own during moments of complete relaxation and letting go of resistance. While these are just some of the spiritual drugs, it's by no means limited to just these, as there are many out there that can be used for spiritual practices. Many of these types of drugs for spiritual growth have a variety of effects on a person, and it's not the same for everyone, as some people may experience something completely different from another. One of the many things it does is help promote relaxation, as well as have a hallucinogenic effect. But the most significant one is to eliminate resistance. Why this is crucial for spiritual development is because most all of our problems are due to the lack in an inability to eliminate resistance and let go. Why, you ask? Well, think about someone who is constantly worried about things, past events, things to come, everything and anything. If they were to just let go and relax and release those constant thoughts, their problems would be solved. Yes, this is true, but it's not that easy, since once the person has been conditioned to constantly think like this and don't know how to relax and let go, it becomes much harder for them. Many of us that have these constant intrusive thoughts will tell you that it's not as easy as it is in these words, like just relax and let go. It's the same as chronic illnesses and a variety of other problems. It's the cause of a lack of ability to let go and release resistance. Learning the ability at that stage can be extremely difficult, but it's not impossible. So that's why drugs like these are quite effective at initially helping someone out of this downward spiral and lack of ability to let go and relax. With that being said, since it helps you let go of resistance, that is where the spiritual aspect comes into play. When you let go of resistance, you become more creative and more open to possibilities in the world around you. It allows you to live in the present, in the now, and not hold attachments and thoughts that get in your way. This is the key to spiritual development, which is why these drugs are often sought out. Once you remove your thoughts and beliefs of limitations from the equation, all resistance and things that are holding you back are dissolved. This is how it takes effect, since you begin to see what truly is, instead of what your mind produces from past thoughts and various what-if scenarios. You can accomplish this all by yourself without the need for any substance. I have actually done a video about releasing resistance, so I'll have an annotation and a link in the description. This can help you learn a bit more about what denial and resistance is, and why we may resist certain things, and how to let go and be more mindful. Taking various psychedelic plants when they're in their original form can offer a variety of benefits for the user versus using synthetic drugs or extractions from the compounds found in the plants. The reason for this is that doing the drug without the source, the plant in this case, is not the same as doing the plant and resonating with the energy of the plant. The psychedelic compound in the plant is not the same as the plant in its entirety. In other words, it's not the entire makeup of the plant and can offer an entirely different experience. But the truth is, doing drugs to make you more spiritually aware and for spiritual growth is never the solution to your problems. It is not necessary and will never get you to where you want to be if you cannot get there yourself. This very well could turn into a shortcut for you to avoid the work yourself as you become dependent on it. While it may offer a variety of benefits to aid initially to get you on the right path so you can do the work yourself, it's never the answer long term, since that is where dependency occurs and you begin to search more for the experience it gives you versus doing the work yourself and allowing the experience to come to you. It can help if you are in such a negative downward spiral of resistance, because it can raise your vibration and allow you to let go of the resistance much quicker than you could on your own, since you keep spiraling down. With that being said, the effect it can have on someone in such a negative state will allow them to release enough resistance so they can face their problems effectively and continue to raise their vibration to get out of the negative spiral. However, if they depend on a substance to raise their vibration when they are in a downward spiral, then they have not learned what they needed to from the substance, which is a temporary aid. Long-term usage is a shortcut that doesn't result in the proper lessons being learned for one to face the problems on their own. At that point, they've become dependent, or rather addicted to the substance, since they don't know how to face the problems themselves without the need of a substance. I have a video dedicated to addictions that may help in this area if you are having a difficult time or problem with addictions. I'll have an annotation and a link in the description. Now let's discuss why drugs like these are often viewed with shame, disgust, or even being illegal in many parts of the world. This has to do with the fact that they are often abused. Drug addiction is a serious problem for many individuals. Even with these drugs being illegal, that makes the more enjoyable experience for the users, since they have to do it in secret, and it creates an additional rush or high for them in addition to the drugs. However, the real thing to look at is the intention. Many drug users and people thinking about doing drugs is for one reason: escape. An escape from the problems they are having in the present. Perhaps a stressful job, children, and so many other things that can cause one an enormous amount of stress and anxiety. The intention of escape is a negative one because it makes one dependent on the drug they are doing. If you're thinking about using any sort of aid, like a plant, herb, or drug of the sort for spiritual growth, there are a variety of things to consider, which I will discuss now. If you are planning to use a psychoactive, psychedelic, or related drug to help with your spiritual growth, the number one thing to consider is to have a positive intention in mind. Essentially, what this means is that you want to have a goal for yourself, a positive reason why you are taking the drug. Negative intentions are recreationally and for escapism. For example, if you are stressed and resort to marijuana to take the edge off and relax you, that's a negative intention, as is if you do it just because you enjoy the feeling it gives you. Positive intentions include expanding your consciousness and perception and knowledge of yourself and the world around you. These include things to help you become independent and knowledgeable. If you do not have any intention at all, what will happen is whatever you are subconsciously thinking about. For example, if you take marijuana to alleviate stress from an abusive relationship you are involved in, then you will continue to manifest scenarios in your life that will make you even more aware of these problems in your relationship and harder for you to deal with. In other words, you use the drug for escapism from anger and abuse, and you will attract that to you more so with the intention you set for yourself. So it's best to clear your mind a bit beforehand and set a positive intention that can help you with the problem, since instead of escaping them. Next is to analyze the effect it may have or has on you. In other words, know what you are getting into before doing it, so you are more prepared. Likewise, this is where you lessen any fears you have related to the drug as well, since, as was mentioned a moment ago, you should have a positive intention. So let go of this fear. While you will not know firsthand what effect a particular substance will have on you until you actually do it, having information about the effects it has, both pleasant and unpleasant, and a plan laid out beforehand will help lessen that fear and bring a more enjoyable, productive experience that you can learn and grow from. And lastly, and most importantly, drugs are never the way to spiritual enlightenment. As was mentioned earlier, when you become dependent on drugs, you often chase after the experience it gives you instead of learning how to actually cope properly and doing the work yourself and allowing the experience to come to you. The dependency is the problem here, since if you are doing drugs like this on a daily basis or regularly, and especially long term, it would cause more harm than good. Anything in excess amounts have negative consequences. In the case of these drugs, it makes you dependent, addicted, and unable to properly deal with your own problems. These drugs are tools that can help you during your journey, but they are not a replacement for the work you must do yourself if you wish to achieve spiritual enlightenment. That work will always be in your hands, and no substance will ever get you there until you can work on it yourself and learn how to bring about the experience the drugs are giving you on your own. The truth is, while the drugs can initially spark that spiritual development phase and spiritual awakening, which you must then continue with on your own, they are by no means necessary to develop spiritually. Don't think that you have to try any drug to be spiritually aware, because you do not. Only you can do it by yourself. So you may be wondering what my view is on these substances, with what they do to someone as well as the legality. My views are that I simply do not condone any sort of drug or for recreational use. If you do so for escapism, it's not something I personally believe in, since it doesn't get to the root of the problem and teach you how to deal with it on your own. The honest truth is, you should live each day being independent and self-sufficient. That's not to say you cannot get help from the people around you to help you through a difficult time and to ultimately help you help yourself. But it comes down to just that. If you cannot handle something yourself, it's time to learn instead of being dependent on something else to accomplish this. You will never be able to properly cope and deal with something unless you actually learn and go through it yourself. So my view is that I would never recommend any drug of this kind to someone to help them, but rather would teach them how they can overcome the problems they are having on their own without the need for a substance. It may take longer to achieve that, but there are many more lessons to be learned during that recovery phase. As with the legality of such substances, specifically marijuana, regardless of if it was legal or illegal, there would be abuse. However, there are significant advantages to having it legal, which would condone responsible usage on the user behalf. Due to certain drugs being illegal, this makes people want it more since they are told that they can't or shouldn't do it. I believe everyone has the right to choose the life they want to live and what to do with it. Ultimately, the choices you make always affect you. It doesn't matter if something is legal or not, since there will be people who will always go against this rule. And in having such things illegal, only make people want to do it more. So I am for the choice of the user and not a law that tells the user what to do. So in conclusion, using drugs and plants for spiritual growth can be rather successful, as it's a way to lessen resistance, promote relaxation, and allow universal energy to come to you. However, doing them are not the solution to your problems. It is not necessary and will never get you to where you want to be if you cannot get there yourself. Dependency and addictions are a common problem when you are doing it long-term and crave the experience instead of doing the work yourself and allowing the experience to come to you. Please feel free to share your own experiences, as I always enjoy reading them. I hope this video was informative and helpful. Thanks for watching.